we've got something incredibly fascinating to unpack today. We're going to explore the intersection between some really profound ancient Islamic teachings and, well, our everyday digital habits. Honestly, it's pretty amazing how guidance from 1400 years ago maps so perfectly onto the smartphones sitting right in our pockets. So we're going to break down two absolutely critical concepts today: Laghw and Lahw Al-Hadith, and figure out exactly how we can navigate all these digital distractions. Section 1. The digital distraction trap. Let's talk about a highly relatable, everyday problem that literally all of us face. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this scenario. You decide to take a quote-unquote quick break to check your phone for, 5 minutes? And suddenly, bam, an entire hour has just vanished. You know the drill. You've doom-scrolled through dozens of completely random short videos, maybe read through some weird arguments in the comment section, and your thumb is actually genuinely numb. And when you finally lock the screen, you realize you've learned absolutely nothing useful, right? It is the ultimate universal trap of modern technology. Now, you might be wondering, what does Islam actually say about this specific modern behavior? Like, how exactly does a faith established 1400 years ago address the very real dilemma of endless scrolling and digital binging? Well, you might be surprised to know that the Quran actually lays out two incredibly important concepts that hit the nail on the head when it comes to this exact situation. Section 2. Laghw versus Lahw Al-Hadith. Let's look at the difference between these two crucially distinct terms. So the first concept we're looking at is laghw. According to classical scholars, laghw basically refers to anything that's useless, meaningless, or brings zero tangible benefit to either your religious life or your worldly life. We're talking about getting sucked into pointless arguments, engaging in gossip, or you guessed it, endless social media scrolling where you're just watching random videos for hours on end. That is laghw. Now, it's really important to note here that while laghw isn't always strictly sinful in and of itself, it is an absolute, massive waste of your highly valuable time. And the Quran makes the stakes of this crystal clear. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, verses 1-3, Allah says, "Successful are the believers who turn away from laghw." That's incredibly powerful, isn't it? Plus, in Surah Al-Qasas, verse 55, it says, "When they hear idle talk, they turn away from it." So avoiding these pointless, time-wasting distractions, it's not just some trendy modern productivity hack. It's fundamentally a key trait of a spiritually successful believer. Okay, let's contrast that with our second term, Laghw Al-Hadith. Now, this goes way beyond just wasting time. Scholars explain that Laghw Al-Hadith involves forms of entertainment, speech, or content that actively distract you and lead you away from Allah and His guidance. So it crosses the line from just killing time into active spiritual harm. We're talking about the kind of entertainment that might make a person neglect their required prayers, or maybe it's immoral content, or media that's actively promoting sinful behavior or false stories. The warning against this is honestly pretty severe. In Surah Luqman, verse 6, Allah says, "Among people are those who purchase Laghw al-Hadith to mislead others from the path of Allah." To give you some context on just how serious this is, the prominent companion of the Prophet, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, explained this verse by actually swearing by Allah that it refers specifically to singing and entertainment that distracts a person from Allah. It's content that actively pulls people away from their faith. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that you can think of these two concepts as being on a spectrum. If you spend an hour just, watching random silly videos, that is laghw. It's useless, it wastes your time. But if getting sucked into those videos causes you to completely miss your daily prayers, or it exposes you to things that actively push you towards sin, well, then it's crossed the line into Laghw al-Hadith. It's transformed into a distraction that actively pulls you away from your faith. Section 3. The cost of wasted time. Let's look at the real spiritual and mental toll of throwing our time away. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, actually gave us a really profound metric for our faith. He said, part of a person's good Islam is leaving what does not concern him. Just think about that. Leaving distractions behind is a core, fundamental part of practicing the faith well. And on top of that, the Prophet taught that on the Day of Judgment, we are literally going to be questioned about how we spent our lives and our time. Time is a massive asset, and we're completely accountable for it. And the great scholar Hassan al-Basri perfectly captured the immense stakes of this. He said, "A believer protects his time more carefully than his wealth." I mean, wow, just think about that comparison for a second. If you lose money, you can always go out, work hard, and earn it back, right? But if you lose an hour just endlessly scrolling on your phone, you can never, ever get that hour back. No way. it's gone for good.
Imam Ash-Shafi'i added another incredibly deep layer to this. He stated, if people reflected on Surah Al-Asr alone, it would be sufficient for their guidance. As you might know, Surah Al-Asr famously begins with Allah swearing by time itself, emphasizing that humanity is basically in a state of loss. These classical statements really underscore the fact that time is arguably our greatest, yet absolutely most fleeting blessing. And this brilliantly illustrates how ancient wisdom perfectly aligns with modern neuroscience. Today, we know for a fact that social media platforms are deliberately engineered to keep you hooked. They are designed for it. Endless short-form content completely rewires our brains. It totally reduces our attention spans, drastically increases our baseline distraction, creates these intense dopamine-driven habits, lowers our overall productivity, and just spikes our mental fatigue. It is exactly why you can literally lie on a couch just staring at a screen for 3 hours and feel physically and mentally exhausted afterward.
But here's the kicker. That scientific mental fatigue, it directly feeds right into some really severe spiritual dangers. This endless exposure to Laghw and Lahw Al-Hadith obviously results in a ton of wasted time, which then leads directly to a much weaker connection with Allah. Think about it. When your brain is completely fried from chasing quick dopamine hits, you have way less focus in your prayer. You experience reduced productivity across your whole life, and ultimately it just culminates in this profound sense of spiritual emptiness. You end up feeling completely disconnected, both from the real world around you and most importantly from your Creator.
Section 4. Protecting your precious time. Now, let's pivot and talk about how we can actually defend our focus with some clear, actionable solutions.
So the crucial point is, how do we actively defend our time? Well, we've got a clear 5-step approach for you right here. Number 1, track your time. Seriously, every night, just ask yourself where your hours actually went. Number 2, read the Quran daily. Even if it's just for 10 minutes, it will completely ground you. Number 3, clean your social media feed. Unfollow the noise and only keep the accounts that add actual real value to your life. Number 4, avoid pointless online arguments. Just respond to ignorance with peace, exactly as the Quran advises in Surah 25, verse 63. And finally, number 5, replace bad habits. Try swapping out that endless scrolling for reading a book, getting some exercise, or doing an act of charity. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this ultimate question of accountability, one that we are all going to face one day. Allah will ask us, what did you do with the time I gave you? Really take a second to think about that. All those viral videos, the fleeting internet trends, the endless, numbed hours of scrolling, they're all going to completely disappear. But every single minute you spend for Allah, every moment you spend seeking knowledge, and every good deed you do, that will remain on your record forever. Successful believers are those who consciously step away from Laghw and aggressively protect themselves from Laghw Al-Hadith. Guard your time, use it wisely, and let it bring you closer to what truly, absolutely matters.